She wants your loyalty like a wife, but her freedom like she's single. That's the exclusivity paradox. You know that feeling when the rules of the game change halfway through, but only for one player? Welcome back. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating contradictions in modern dating, something I call the exclusivity paradox. Here's the setup. She wants you home by 10. She wants to know where you are, who you're with, and why that girl liked your photo from 2019. She wants loyalty, consistency, emotional availability, and the kind of devotion that used to come with a wedding ring. But, and here's where it gets interesting, when you ask her for the same thing back, when you say, "Okay, so are we together?" suddenly the energy shifts. Suddenly she needs space. Suddenly she's not ready for labels. Suddenly it's about living in the moment and not putting pressure on something beautiful. Sound familiar? If it does, stay with me. Because today we're not here to complain. We're not here to attack anyone. We're here to understand. We're going to unpack the psychology, the evolutionary wiring, the cultural programming, and the emotional architecture behind this paradox. And by the end of this video, you'll see this pattern so clearly that it will never confuse you again. Let's get into it. Let's first lay out the pattern in its full, undeniable clarity. The exclusivity paradox works like this. One partner, and in this particular dynamic we're talking about women, establishes a set of behavioral expectations for the other person that are functionally identical to a committed relationship. She expects fidelity, she expects priority, she expects emotional labor, the good morning texts, the checking in, the remembering of small details, the showing up when things get hard. These are not casual expectations. These are the expectations of a partnership, of a marriage even. And there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting those things. In fact, those are beautiful things to want. But the paradox emerges when the person demanding this level of investment simultaneously refuses to offer the same structure in return. She won't define the relationship. She won't commit to exclusivity, at least not verbally, not formally. She keeps the door open, not necessarily because she's walking through it, but because the option to walk through it gives her something powerful. And if you push, if you say, "I'm giving you everything you're asking for, can we at least call this what it is?" you're met with resistance. You're told you're being needy. You're told that real connection doesn't need labels. You're told she wants to just be in the moment. But notice, the moment she wants to be in still requires your absolute loyalty. That's the paradox. The obligation flows in one direction. The freedom flows in the other. So why does this happen? Let's look deeper. At the core of this behavior is one of the most fundamental human needs, the need for security, but paired with one of the most fundamental human fears, the fear of vulnerability. When a woman establishes these unspoken rules, be loyal, be present, be mine in every way that matters, she is constructing a secure emotional environment for herself. She knows where you are. She knows you're not going anywhere. She can relax into the comfort of having someone who is, for all practical purposes, hers. But commitment, real, stated, mutual commitment, requires something terrifying. It requires her to be equally locked in. It requires her to acknowledge that she too is choosing. And that choosing means she can be held accountable. It means she can be judged if she fails. It means she has, formally and openly, placed a bet on another person, and bets can be lost. By keeping things undefined, she maintains what psychologists call asymmetric emotional leverage. She gets the warmth of the fire without the risk of being burned. You, on the other hand, are standing in the fire, fully exposed, fully committed, wondering why the heat only seems to touch you. This is not necessarily calculated. Most of the time, it's not even conscious. It's a defense mechanism built from past experiences, from cultural messaging, from the very real pain of having been vulnerable before and having it cost her something. But understanding the origin of a behavior doesn't mean you have to accept its consequences. There's another layer here, and it has to do with option psychology. In behavioral economics, there's a concept called the option value. The idea is simple. An option, even one you never exercise, has value simply because it exists. Keeping the relationship undefined preserves her options. Not because she's planning to use them, but because knowing they exist provides a psychological safety net that formal commitment would remove. She's essentially saying, I want you to close all your doors, but I need mine to stay open. Not because I want to leave, but because knowing I can leave makes me feel safe. And if you understand that sentence, really understand it, you understand the entire paradox. Now let's go even deeper into evolutionary psychology. For hundreds of thousands of years, the mating strategies of men and women have been shaped by different biological pressures. A man's reproductive strategy, broadly speaking, benefits from access. A woman's reproductive strategy benefits from security. Because the biological cost of reproduction for a woman is extraordinarily high. Pregnancy, childbirth, nursing, years of dependent offspring, all of this required a partner who would stay, provide, and protect. So women evolved a deep, almost instinctive radar for commitment signals. They learned to test for loyalty, to watch for consistency, to demand proof that a man wouldn't just disappear after getting what he wanted. But here's the modern twist. We no longer live in small tribal groups where commitment was enforced by social structure. Today, a woman can demand commitment signals from a man while simultaneously existing in a culture that tells her commitment is optional, that independence is paramount, that she should never need a man. So she's caught between two forces. Her evolutionary wiring is screaming, make sure he's loyal, make sure he stays. But her cultural programming is whispering, don't tie yourself down, keep your options open. You're a free spirit. The result? She follows both impulses at once. She demands his loyalty because her deeper brain needs it, but she refuses to reciprocate formally because her social identity won't allow it. She wants the ancient contract, but only her half of it. And culture has made this paradox worse, much worse. Modern dating culture has created an environment where commitment is treated as a scarce resource, something to be withheld, something that gives power to whoever holds it back the longest. We've gamified intimacy. We've turned vulnerability into weakness and emotional unavailability into strength. Women today are bombarded with messages that tell them their value is tied to their independence. A strong woman doesn't need a man. Never make him your priority if you're only his option. Stay mysterious. Stay unattainable. These messages aren't entirely wrong, but they're incomplete. And when internalized without nuance, they create a woman who wants deep connection, but has been trained to perform detachment. A woman who craves loyalty, but has been told that asking for it, while offering it, is somehow beneath her. Social media amplifies this further. Every woman with a phone has a stream of incoming attention. Likes, messages, comments. That serves as a constant reminder that options exist. This doesn't mean she's acting on those options, but the awareness of them makes formal commitment feel like closing a door she's not sure she wants closed. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The paradox is also enabled by men. When a man accepts the unequal terms, when he provides husband-level devotion without requiring wife-level commitment, he reinforces the pattern. He teaches her that she can have everything without giving anything in return. Not because she's manipulative, but because the system allows it. the paradox survives because both parties participate in it. Let's talk about what this does emotionally, to both sides. For the man, the exclusivity paradox creates a state of perpetual audition. He's always performing, always proving, always demonstrating his worthiness, but he never gets the role. He's doing the work of a committed partner without the title, without the security, without the reciprocity. Over time, this erodes his self-respect. He starts to feel like his effort doesn't matter, like no amount of devotion will ever be enough to earn what he's already giving freely. For the woman, ironically, the paradox doesn't deliver what she thinks it will. She believes that keeping things open protects her from pain, but what it actually does is prevent her from experiencing the full depth of intimacy that only comes with mutual vulnerability. She's safe, but she's also alone in her safety. She has a man who acts like a partner, but whom she can't fully trust, because she herself has refused to create the container of trust. There's a psychological principle called commitment escalation, the idea that people value things more when they've committed to them. By refusing to commit, she inadvertently devalues the very relationship she's trying to protect. The uncommitted space becomes anxious space. The undefined becomes unstable, and the freedom she's preserving starts to feel less like liberation and more like limbo. This is the cruel irony of the paradox. It promises safety, but delivers anxiety. It promises freedom, but creates a prison of ambiguity. And both people end up exactly where neither of them wanted to be. Together in practice, alone in principle. So what do you do if you recognize this pattern? First, and I cannot stress this enough, you name it. Not with anger, not with accusation, but with clarity. The exclusivity paradox thrives in silence. It survives because no one points at it and says, "This is what's happening." The moment you articulate the contradiction calmly and clearly, its power diminishes. You say, "I notice that you expect from me the behavior of someone in a committed relationship. I'm willing to give that, but I need the same structure in return. Not because I want to control you, but because I respect myself enough to require reciprocity." Second, you hold boundaries. A boundary is not an ultimatum. A boundary is a statement of what you will and will not accept. If you're providing loyalty, availability, and emotional investment, you have every right to expect the same in return. If she can't offer that, you don't have to stay. Not because she's a bad person, but because an unequal arrangement will eventually destroy both of you. Third, understand that her resistance to commitment often has nothing to do with you. It's about her relationship with vulnerability, with control, with the stories she tells herself about what strength looks like. You can have compassion for that, but compassion doesn't mean compliance. You can understand her fear without living inside it. And finally, recognize that a relationship without mutual commitment is not a relationship. It's a situation, and situations don't grow. They stagnate. They breed resentment. They collapse under the weight of their own contradictions. The exclusivity paradox is not about women being villains. It's not about men being victims. It's about a very human contradiction. Wanting safety without risk. Wanting connection without exposure. Wanting everything love offers without paying the price love requires. But love does have a price, and the price is mutual. It's two people standing in the same fire, equally exposed, equally committed, equally afraid, and choosing to stay anyway. That's not a label. That's not a cage. That's courage. And if she can't meet you there, in that equal, courageous, fully committed space, then the kindest thing you can do, for both of you, is to walk away. Not with resentment, not with bitterness, but with the quiet understanding that you deserve someone who doesn't just want your devotion, but is brave enough to offer hers. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, leave a comment below. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because we go deep here, and we do it with respect. I'll see you in the next one.